Hello, I'm Pastor Joe, and I want to welcome you to the Parson's Bench Workshop. This video is a build project of a box that I'm making for local winery and distilleries, for a gift box to put together some things for them. I just want to warn you before the video starts that I started this back in probably January, and various things have come up, some health things and different things, that I wasn't able to finish it till now. So it starts off with me in a hoodie, ends up with me in the sweltering heat of southeastern North Carolina. I got a chuckle when I was watching it and working on this video. So I just want to give you warning about that. So that's why you'll see me at the beginning dressed one way and at the end another. But either way, I hope that you enjoy this video and that it will help get you out in your own shop. So what I need to do to get started is to cut this lumber to rough size. Then I want to go to the joiner and the planer so I can get it flat and get it planed down. And then what I want to do is resaw it. What I'm hoping to do is get it down to probably 3/8 of an inch or so. 3/8 to a half inch will be the thickness of everything. And that's my goal for this morning. So let's get started. Okay, so we got our lumber planed down to the thickness that I wanted. Now what I want to do at the bandsaw is to resaw it, so to cut it in half so that each of these boards becomes two, which will give us all of the pieces that we need for the spirit box. So I've already gone and put a mark on the halfway, run a line down the halfway so I can resaw it. So what I'm going to do is I have a resaw fence that I made for my bandsaw, and I'm going to position it and attach it with some clamps, and then we'll get to cutting. So after flattening these boards at the joiner and the planer, and then resaw them to get them to sort of the thickness that I'm looking for, I let them sit for a couple of days, partly because I was busy at work and whatnot. But now I'm ready to kind of replane them. After they've sat, after the resawing, they have had a little bit of warping, not as bad as sometimes. So we're going to take it back to the planer. I've got my planer sled, so we're going to get the boards on there, wedge it up, and see if we can't flatten these things so we can get moving on to the more fun part of the project. I find it helpful. I just pick up these packs of shims at the hardware store, and I don't use much of them, just the tips of them often is all I need, but it just kind of speeds up the process when I'm getting ready to try to flatten these boards. Okay, so the next step in the spirit box is I want to cut these pieces to width, and then we will cut them to finished size. So right now the boards are around 7 inches, and I want to cut them, each of them, down to about 5 3/8, I believe it is. Get the fence. Five 3/8. 5 3/8. Okay, actually after cutting these down to 5 3/8, what I want to do is get my router, and I want to router a rabbet on the top and bottom, where the bottom of it will be glued in and the lid will fit. So let's get the router. Now we can cut these down to finished side with the 45-degree corners. Alright, now that we've got these pieces cut to size, and I've done a dry fit, and I think everything's going to match up pretty well. So we need to do some sanding, which is the absolute favorite part of any project, right? Alright, it's time to get this box glued up. Once we get this glued up, while it dries, we can turn our attention to the bottom and the top. Now, I'm going to do this a little bit differently than I normally do boxes, but do a way that I've seen other folks do, and I've actually used it when I've built like hexagon shelves and whatnot. We're going to put blue painter's tape on them, kind of as a hinge to hold it together. We can get these lined up and get the tape on. Then we'll flip it over and we can put the glue on and then just roll it up. Pretty happy with that. We'll let this dry up and we'll get started on the bottom and the lid. Alright, we got the box glued up. We've got the panels for the bottom and the lid ready to glue up. And so I've got my pipe clamp set in position. I just want to put a little bit of blue painter's tape where the seam is likely to be. This will help keep the black pipe from staining that glue line. And so we'll get that on, then we'll get these glued up. Okay, we have the top and the bottom panels out of the clamps. What I want to do now is I want to run them through the planer and just take off just a little bit to kind of even up these seams. And then we will get to some sanding and then we can cut them to size. Alright, let's do some sanding and then we can cut these down to size. Okay, we're going to glue the bottom in and set these silicone pads down, placemat things that I use for gluing up. And I'll be using, for the bottom to get in, I'll be using this Tight Bond Quick and Thick. Dries clear, dries quick, so later this afternoon I can get back working on it. Alright, so we got the bottom glued into this box. We got the top cut so that it fits good. So what we need to do now is to put in a center dividing piece and to also make a piece to divide one side of that. I got this middle divider cut and ready to go, and I've made some spacers to put in on the bottom and actually to clamp in at the top so that it will be even all the way around. So we'll get these placed and then we can glue this middle divider in. So the insides are all glued up, and I think it came out nicely. I think that's going to work fine. And I got the lid done. Just made a simple little handle with like a 5-degree angle all the way around. Nothing major. So I'm going to do a quick sanding. I sanded all the pieces before I glued it together, but I'm going to run over it one more time with some 220, and then we'll be ready to get the finish on here and get this project wrapped up. Okay, so I got 3 coats of that clear finish on here and it has dried, and so I think we can call this project done. This was a project I had done for at the request of a local winery and distillery. Be it like a gift box, it'll have a bottle of gin or whiskey along with a flask and a couple of shot glasses. And I think it came out nicely, so I'll get with them and see how they like it. But it's been fun. And I hope you've enjoyed this build as well. And I appreciate you joining me for this project, and I hope that it will help you get out in your own shop and make some sawdust.